On this episode of Color Quickie, James the Color Guy is going to tell you all about this color, Green Trellis by Valspar. This is a very popular color. It's been part of the Color of the Year hype recently, even though it's not blue, it's green. But what we're going to do today is I'm going to tell you all about it, give you some details on it, and then ultimately I'm going to build a color palette around it, which includes 2 trim color options for your baseboards, your doors, and your trim, and then 3 color pairings that you can use any way you want, whether it's on walls in other rooms, or maybe some accent pieces within the same space. So to start things off, this of course is a green color, and Valspar markets it as being part of the cool family of greens. Now this could be misleading depending on where you put it and what you put it with, but for the most part, this is a color that does have just a slightly minty kind of quality to it. It doesn't feel turquoise or teal or blue leaning, but it also doesn't have a strong yellow or gold undertone that pulls it into the warm territory. For the most part, I would call this a fairly transitional green that can kind of do both. It can work with the warmer colors or the cooler colors. Green in general has that quality that I really enjoy about it. We can also look at the LRV, or the light reflectance value, and this is the number from 0 to 100 that tells us how light or dark a color is. The higher that number, the brighter it'll be. And green trellis is around a 43-ish LRV, so a slightly darker mid-tone color. It's actually a bit darker than it looks when you first see it, especially if it's in a really well-lit room, but it does have that depth, which means it feels a little more substantial as a color. There's enough to it where I wouldn't really classify it as a neutral in the traditional sense. It is a color that I would maybe save for secondary spaces and then have something else be the predominant color. This usually isn't the case if you're working with a smaller space, like maybe a bachelor apartment and you just have one large room that you're worrying about, then it could work because it's not a polarizing color. It's not an overly vibrant green that might clash with certain things. It has a nice toned down feel to it, maybe a bit of gray added in to desaturate it slightly. So if you do have some neutrals that you want to incorporate with it, I think it'll be a great fit. Just make sure you test it out first, please. I don't want to get in trouble here. Let's talk about trim colors first. The lighter option is going to be Dour, and this is a beautiful color. It has a nice softness to it. I almost classify it, and this might sound weird, as a taupey white because it has this very slight touch of maybe a grayed out brown undertone. Like it has just a subtle softness to it. But if we're talking about the light reflectance value, it's at 86 or something. So much, much brighter than green trellis. Very, very high on the LRV scale. Not the brightest white, but the perfect white, I think, for green trellis. It just has this lovely softness to it while still being very much a white, all things considered. Now on the other side of the spectrum, we have a dark trim color. And this is not just to be thought of as a baseboard color. This could be a door color, inside or outside. This can be a furniture color or a built-in cabinet paint color you can go with. It's called Empire. And what I love about Empire is it's a bit of an enigma because in some cases it looks like a deep taupe that's sort of this blackened brown. And then in other cases, you see a bit of a green undertone coming through. A little bit more warm than green trellis, I would say, because it has that sort of chocolatey quality happening to it. Not only is it going to be much deeper than the green, but it also has a color temperature difference that helps separate it that much more. But the two together has a very earthy feel, very grounded, a little more adventurous than just your traditional white trim. The 17.5 LRV also means it's not insanely dark. Like it's not a 3 or a 4. There is a little bit of wiggle room there, which means it could be an option as a wall color as well. So don't feel pigeonholed and just thinking of it as strictly a trim color, because you can use it for more things in this palette. All right, so let's talk about color pairings, the non-trim colors that are part of this palette. The first one is Cream in My Coffee. I know I mentioned earlier that green trellis isn't quite a neutral, but this color definitely is. It's in the low 70s in terms of its light reflectance value, which is good. It's light and airy and fresh and easygoing. It's also kind of beigey, so it's not going to be the fun choice, I guess you could say, but it is a great stand-in color if you just want something that's very simple and streamlined. The second color pairing is lighter, but a little more of an accent color, believe it or not. It is called Heart of Palm, and this is about a 77 LRV, so quite a bit brighter, definitely more of a saturated, more of a vibrant color. It has more of a clear yellow to it. It almost has this kind of silky smooth, buttery quality to it that I really enjoy. And believe it or not, somewhere in the distance, there is a little bit of a green undertone present as well. And that's what kind of connects it to green trellis. Now, what's interesting here is Valspar labels this as a cool color, or at least it has a cool undertone. And I guess as far as yellow is concerned, maybe this one does have a bit of a cool lean to it, but as a color in and of itself, very warm, very bright, yet still can suit use as a room color. So don't think of this as just strictly for accents or a fun chair that you want to just spray this color. You can use this in a room on all four walls, especially if you have other things on the walls to sort of take up that visual space. So it's not just an overabundance of yellow, but even still, that's fine too, I find. Whenever you use energetic colors like yellow, just be mindful you may not want all that energy all the time. So tread softly.
Let's tread softly.
The third color pairing can be deemed as the accent color as well, kind of a co-accent color, very different from the last one. This one is called Villa Blue, and kind of like green trellis, this is sort of a green-blue hybrid. So what we're doing with Villa Blue is we're taking that slightly bit of blue, or that coolness found in green trellis, and just bringing it to the forefront in a much more deep, saturated color. At around a 24 LRV, this is not quite as dark as Empire, that dark trim color we talked about, but still rich enough to really pop off of all the other colors in this palette. It's gonna help cool down the Heart of Palm brightness a little bit, and those colors can work really well in tandem in a very polarizing, dynamic, complementary fashion. Although even still, they have a little bit of that green undertone to kind of connect them. They're very different, but similar in certain ways. Here's the palette all together. Please let me know what you think. And if you want more content from us, we have our Patreon live. Brand new exclusive videos every single Sunday. So check us out there if you want to support us even more than you already do. As for more videos, you got one right here.